The Magical Adventures of Sophie and Her Cat. Sophie had a cat named Whiskers. Whiskers wasn't just any cat, he was her best friend, and Sophie was sure that he had a little bit of magic in him. His soft, fluffy fur was always a mix of white and gray, and his green eyes sparkled like they were hiding secrets. One sunny afternoon, Sophie and Whiskers were playing in the backyard. Sophie had a ball, and Whiskers loved chasing it around, pretending he was a fierce tiger on a big adventure. But today, something felt different. Sophie noticed that Whiskers was acting unusually curious. He was sniffing the air and darting around, looking as if he was following an invisible trail.
Whiskers, what is it?
She followed him to the big oak tree in the corner of the yard. Whiskers meowed and looked up at her, as if he was inviting her to come closer. Sophie bent down to look, and to her surprise, she saw a tiny door at the base of the tree.
This wasn't here before,
Sophie whispered, her eyes wide with excitement. She gently opened the door, and the air around her seemed to shimmer. Whiskers gave an eager meow and darted through the door, disappearing into what seemed like a tunnel. Sophie's heart raced. She looked around, unsure of what to do, but Whiskers poked his head out, his tail flicking impatiently.
Come on, Sophie,
he seemed to say with a wink. Without hesitating, Sophie crouched down and crawled through the tiny door after him. On the other side, she found herself in a magical forest. The trees were taller than any she had ever seen, their leaves glowing with every color of the rainbow. The ground was soft and sparkled like the stars in the night sky.
Whiskers, where are we?
Whiskers purred and gave her a look that said, "Follow me, Sophie." They wandered through the glowing forest, meeting friendly animals along the way. A wise owl perched on a branch, and with a friendly hoot, he greeted them.
Welcome to the Enchanted Woods. Only those with a brave heart and a special friend can enter. We're brave, right? Of course.
As they ventured further, they came across a sparkling river. The water was so clear that Sophie could see tiny fish that shimmered like jewels. But the river was wide, and Sophie wasn't sure how to cross. Whiskers looked at her with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Then he jumped onto a nearby rock, and with a quick flick of his tail, he turned the rock into a little boat.
Hop on!
He meowed, and Sophie giggled as she climbed onto the rock boat. They floated across the river, Whiskers paddling the boat with his paws. On the other side, they found a meadow filled with flowers that giggled when Sophie touched them. The flowers hummed a sweet tune, and Sophie couldn't help but laugh along with them.
Whiskers, this is amazing.
Whiskers purred happily, his green eyes sparkling with mischief. He led her to the heart of the meadow, where a giant tree stood. Its bark was made of gold, and its leaves shimmered in the sunlight. Whiskers sat down beneath the tree, his tail swishing contentedly. Sophie sat next to him, feeling like the luckiest girl in the world.
I never knew this magical place existed. Thank you for showing it to me, Whiskers. This is just one of many adventures, Sophie. We're always together, and there's so much more to explore.
As the sun began to set, Sophie knew it was time to return home. With one last look at the Enchanted Woods, she and Whiskers crawled back through the little door at the base of the tree. The world around them slowly returned to normal, but Sophie carried the memory of the magical forest with her. From that day on, Sophie and Whiskers went on many more adventures together, some in the Enchanted Woods and others in the world around them. Every time they stepped into the magical forest, Sophie felt that the possibilities were endless, as long as she had her brave and magical cat by her side.